if you've spent hours looking for special TPU parts for your FPV drones, then you're going to want to see this, because I'm going to show you how to remix files in TinkerCAD so that you don't have to spend an unreasonable amount of time trying to get your drone tricked out with camera mounts or bumpers, feet, etc. Let's get into it. Alright, we're in TinkerCAD. Kind of just trying to find the best way to look at the file I've already uploaded. I've found a mount for a camera for the TBS Source 1v3, which is what I'm trying to remix a universal GoPro mount for. So here we're going to use this lined box shape, which is like a hole, as you can see. It's like a negative shape, and we're going to size it out to delete the parts that we don't want. So I just make it big enough to cover everything, and then move it appropriately. So you can take a look at a few different angles. That looks like it works out pretty well. So before we do anything, we're going to change the units of measure to 0.1 millimeters, so you can move it, just a little bit at a time. You want to make sure you highlight only the parts you want to delete with this shape, and take your time doing so. The 0.1 millimeter step is about the best snap to grid setting that you can get on here. So I like this, I think. Select everything and click this button here to combine the shapes. It's called group, and that will effectively delete what you don't want. So then we'll go up to the mount that we want to remix it to. So I've got a universal GoPro mount typed into Yegi, and I like this Impulse RC one. Looks low profile compared to the Gep RC one right there, so I'm gonna use that. If you go into this is on Thingiverse. If you click this, it'll give you a zip file with all the data basically here, but I don't want that. I'm just gonna cut it apart. So you go down here, you can just get the file in your downloads and then import it to TinkerCAD. So there we go. And we're going to do the same thing to this mount, but in reverse. We're going to keep the top sections and delete the base part. So we'll just wait for it to import. Okay. So as you can imagine, we make a shallow a shallow box, and then group these two shapes together, and then we're going to put what we cut from this mount onto the other one. I like to put the shape on top of what you want to cut, and then use that same kind of eyeball technique to size it appropriately. You can find that there's just like one grid snap that will highlight exactly what you need or really close to it. So just try to find that, and then size it to the rest of the mount. This can get a little tricky when you're doing GoPro mounts, like fixed mounts, but if you take your time, you'll figure it out. It's just a process of shaping that box or whatever shape it is that you want to cut with, and moving it around to the best of your ability. Okay, this is an important part here, because I've done this a couple times where I don't pay attention closely enough to which direction the parts are going. So see, the hardware hole is on one side, and then there is a blank side for your screw or bolt. And then there's a front and a back side to the bottom base of the mount. So you want to make sure you match them up appropriately. If you need to go check or use something as reference, please do, because you'll be really frustrated like me if you print this whole thing and then find out you did it backwards. Now, getting this on the right part of the mount is kind of an eyeball game. TinkerCAD is not the most precise for measuring, and I wouldn't suggest making critical components this way, but it works great for making camera mounts and pretty much any TPU parts. You can eyeball it pretty dang close. See, I'm just using the base of the mount as a reference and trying to line up the holes to the center as best I can, and I think that's looking pretty good. So if that's good and we got the hardware on the right side, it doesn't really matter that much for universal GoPro mounts, but if you make a fixed mount and you put the camera backwards or the mount backwards or whatever the case is, it's gonna suck. That's 7 hours of printing and filament that you wasted. So anyway, looking at the back side here, I'm gonna fill in some of that open area because I want the mount to be as strong as possible. So we're gonna use just a regular box shape and then use the same technique to size it to the rest of the mount to get the thickness right, and then we'll size, the perimeter of the shape and slide it into place. So yeah, that looks pretty good. Like, it'll cover the inside holes, and then I think I'll extend the face closest to us outwards a little bit. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. Last but not least, we're going to group everything together just like we did before. And since these are solid shapes, they will all turn the same color, and you should be done. You can take one more peek, make sure everything's good, and then go ahead and export it. It should go right in your downloads folder from TinkerCAD. I will probably do a Fusion 360 introductory to FPV stuff tutorial, but it is much harder to remix on Fusion 360, and honestly, I wouldn't recommend it for if you just want to, make your own mount for one thing. It's not worth all the effort. But if you're designing from scratch, you need to make, special parts for your quad, that might be the answer. So that's why we're going to do a little design tutorial and a little bit of 3D printing mixed into that too. All right, that's it. It's not too hard to do this. It might take a little bit of practice, remix some stuff, and if it doesn't turn out all right, then that's kind of the path to learning here. I still have a GoPro mount for my Nazgul that I accidentally put the base on backwards and printed the whole thing, and I keep it as a reminder not to do that in the future. One of those learning mistakes. But anyway, hopefully with this you feel armed with a little bit more knowledge and ready to give it a shot yourself. And if you have anything to add or you'd like to suggest future tutorials, please comment and subscribe, and I would be happy to have a conversation with you about it in the comments. All right, take care.